This weekend, a January horror movie called Primate drops in theaters. I was able to see it. Here are my thoughts on it. Hi, my name is Nathan. I talk about a lot of movies on this channel. If you're new here, down below in the comment section, share what you thought of the movie Primate over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out once this video is over. And click the like button and be sure to subscribe because that really does help a lot. And with all that said, let's just get straight into the review talking about the good aspects of it. And I'll cut straight to the chase on this one. I think this is actually a solid January horror movie. Nothing like Companion that blew me away last year and ended up in my top 10 of the year, which was like, that was too good to be a January horror movie. It's nothing on that level, but it's a pretty solid January horror film I would place along the lines of like something like Megan, where Megan is another just like solid enough January horror movie. I would say this is that as well. Essentially, if you don't know what this is a movie about a group of college students, high school students, teenagers go off and spend the week at one of their friends' house. Who house is in Hawaii, isolated in the forest, the kind of wealthy family, and they stay in this house for the weekend. And they have a pet chimpanzee. This chimpanzee contracts rabies and very quickly starts becoming very violent towards the main characters in the movie, and they have to try to find a way to survive. That is the central premise of this movie, and I think it was a solid version of that. It's kind of like Cujo, the Stephen King story, and as well as the 80s movie adaptation, but with a chimpanzee instead, and more set in this one house location. And I think the best thing going for this movie, the thing that just stood out the most about it, was just how like kind of violent it actually was. Because I went into this movie, like I said before, I don't know if I said this before, I had not seen a single trailer going into this movie, and I was kind of surprised at how grotesque and violent that this movie actually ended up being for a movie about. It has this like kind of like a campy little premise about like chimpanzee going and killing people, and it's not afraid to just like show all the over the top violence. And I think the best part about it is absolutely that, where I saw it in a theater that was kind of packed, and the whole time whenever somebody like gets killed in this weird way, like the theater would just go like ugh, like, and like because it would, the movie just I believe the gore effects and the violence in this film are practical, and they actually used practical effects, so it just feels a bit more raw and effective, which is why there are some sequences that is just like they get under your skin a little bit because of practical effects and just how gory this movie can get, like from the very opening scene to a kill like on a bed in the middle of it in particular. Like there are just some nasty gnarly kills, and that's what you go to a horror movie for, is you want to get some nice creepy imagery in the horror movie that actually stands out and is memorable. And yeah, like I said, the theater reacted to it, so I would recommend seeing this one in a packed theater as well. And with a movie like this, with very violent sequences, there are, of course, very intense sequences to go along with that, where you get a monkey or a chimpanzee that overreacts, is on rabies and overreacts to anything that makes noise. So you get so many scenarios where the characters have to stay quiet in several scenes when they're around the monkey, like especially when they're sequence where they're like crawling in a house and things like that. Not stuff that's like brand new or anything like that, but it has those tense horror sequences that you want in a horror movie. It also, just unexpected thing about this movie, it has this very dark and pleasant sense of it was pleasantly surprising that it had this very dark sense of humor all thrown throughout the movie, where it's some, even like something like the bed kill I mentioned earlier, there's like some things that they do in that where it's like a squirm inducing sequence, but it also like kind of makes you laugh at the same time, because there are some like funny little bits that the characters, like just the way the characters sometimes say things. I don't want to get too heavy into spoilers of what I'm talking about. And there's sequences at the end that can be very tense, but also kind of funny at the same time, that had my entire theater laughing. In particular, when a certain character with that's deaf comes home, and which is the father of like the two girls in the movie. At some point in the movie, the dad comes home, and then there were sequences when he comes home where it's very intense, but the theater was also kind of like just laughing and having fun as well with the certain ways that the sequence actually plays out. And that was a nice little pleasant surprise in this movie. And so I enjoyed the film. When you put it together, it's a good January horror movie, surprisingly good one for a premise that seems kind of derivative. It's a good version of one of these. Doesn't mean it's perfect, so let's move on to the bad aspects of the film. And I've been seeing some people like love this movie. I don't think it's quite there. Like I enjoyed the film, but I don't absolutely like love it. I went on Rotten Tomatoes and it has like a 90 something percent on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not like quite that good, but it is a good movie. But I think there are some flaws in the film. In particular, you get horror movie characters that make dumb decisions. Pretty much a criticism you could throw at a bajillion, like 80% of horror movies you could throw that criticism of. And it's the type of movie that, like, when you have characters make some dumb choices and the way things actually play out, in particular a sequence involving a phone and inside of the house, the way some of these sequences play out, it's just like, maybe they could have played out a little bit better and smarter than it actually did. And so you kind of just look back and there's, why didn't they just do this? Why didn't they just do this? It's the type of movie where you could just kind of do that. The most of the movie, when it gets to the pool, which is about like 30 minutes into the movie, like I had the criticism like I thought it had a long setup, but I realized that the entire like 10 sequences with the monkey were much longer, so it doesn't bother me that much now, which I said in my short review. But here, a bunch of the movie, a majority of the film, when they're trying to evade the monkey, is kind of them being trapped in this pool because the monkey, the chimpanzee is like scared of water, has hydrophobia, and is scared of water, and so he doesn't want to go in the pool, and so they end up having to be in this pool, and a bunch of the movie is just them kind of like going out to get something, going back in the pool and trying to act upon it, and then going out to get something, going back to the pool, going out to get something, and I just kind of wish that they kind of maybe took the setting outside of the pool, perhaps, in the film, especially in this, big house. There are a bunch of scenarios you probably could have done in this setting, rather than just having to, like, walk out a short distance and then go back to the pool constantly. Overall, I still thought this was a very solid January horror movie that surprised me a lot with just how kind of memorable the violence was, mostly, but also just, like, how kind of unexpectedly darkly comedic the movie was as well. And so it was overall a fun time in a movie theater that I would recommend seeing with a crowd of people when it comes out this weekend. Overall, I'll give this movie a B. Nothing amazing, like I said, but it's a movie that's absolutely worth checking out, especially if you're a horror fan, especially if you like gnarly violence and creature features. This is a great, not a great, but a very like solid, very good movie to see, especially for a January horror movie. So there you have it. Those are my thoughts on Primate. Down below in the comment section, share what you thought of the movie over on my channel, App Content like this. Check those out right now. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end. I'll see you in the next one.